YouTube, how you doing? Murph here, bringing you another product review. Today's review is going to be on the Ducky 13SF. This is the latest 65% keyboard offering from Ducky, and it is a follow-on to the 12SF that was released a few years ago and has continued to be one of my favorite 65% pre-built keyboards on the market. And this has been improved upon the Ducky 12SF in almost every single way, and we'll get into that when we talk about the specifications. But as usual, let's start off by talking about the design and the build quality. Now, one of the first things you're going to notice about this design is the color. The Ducky 13SF, at least at release, is only offered in two colorways. You have this right here, which is referred to as the Daybreak, and it's kind of got like a blue and neon green color scheme to it. And it's also released in a yellow version, and you might see a clip or two of the yellow later on in the video because that's the one that I took apart. So when we talk about the stabilizers and the foam, you'll probably catch a glimpse of that. But they kind of went in a different direction with the colorways for the 13 series board at launch. Ducky typically releases a white and a black model, and sometimes they do some limited edition runs. They've also done a couple of different collab boards. So it's really interesting to see them move away from that, again, at least at launch. From what I understand, they are working on white and black versions, but there's no firm date on if or when we'll see those black or white models released. Originally, when I spoke to a Ducky rep, they mentioned white and black models were being worked on. And another thing you'll notice about the design with this keyboard is that they don't have a Zodiac spacebar that Ducky is kind of known for. And at the time when he was talking about the white and the black models, he did confirm that the Zodiac spacebars were going to come with those versions. But again, when those will be released, I honestly don't know. So this is what we have today and in the near future: the Daybreak, the yellow. I prefer the Daybreak model, although I will say I did not like the yellow version online at all. The pictures that I saw, I really didn't think I was gonna like it, but after I got one in and saw it in person, I will say that the yellow looks much better in person than it does in pictures and online, at least in my opinion. This is definitely the most neutral of the two, and this is the one I would recommend probably for most people. So we've already covered the case color. We already talked about the Zodiac spacebar, or I should say lack thereof. Another thing you'll notice here about the design is the keycaps themselves. This time around, there is no RGB pass-through on the keycaps. Again, at least in the two colorways that we have available to us today. It does, however, still come with an assortment of different keycaps. So if you do want to switch it up a little bit, you have the ability to do that. And probably my favorite keycap of all of them is this round escape key that it comes with. But it does have a few different keycaps if you do want to switch up the layout just a little bit. Also, this time around, something that sets it apart from the Ducky 1-2 series is that it does come with a much nicer USB-C cable. It's braided with gold-plated connectors, but the biggest design change here is the case itself. I really like the case design that they went with here. You can see on the front end, it's got kind of this beveled edge to it. Same thing on the rear of the keyboard. A little bit of Ducky branding, and then kind of that beveled edge on the back end. And then the side profile is great. It gives a little bit of contrast between the green and the blue. The yellow version is all yellow, so you don't really get that contrast. This version, the Daybreak, definitely shows it off more, but it's just got a lot more styling to it than the 1-2 series boards did. The 1-2 series board was a very basic rectangular case, and this one has all kinds of beveled edges, cutouts, and just a much more sleek and modern design. One of the things that I'm glad they did keep with this board are the height adjustable feet in the back. You get 3 different typing angles, and you do get 4 rubber bump-ons, so it's going to be firmly planted on your desk. It's not going to move around on you a lot. Now, moving away from design and talking about the build quality, this is an all plastic bodied case, but the plastic that is used here is very dense, very rigid. There's almost no bending or flexing in this case. It feels very durable. Everything feels like it's gonna hold up well. The rubber stops on the back don't feel like they're gonna peel up at all. The height adjustable feet are very tactile. They click into place, but there's also a little bit of tightness there. And I mean that in a good way. It doesn't feel flimsy at all. I don't foresee any issues there. The keycaps this time around are actually just a hair thicker than they were on the 1-2 series boards, and they are still double shot PBT. So these keycaps are going to last you a very long time. Realistically, they should last you the life of the keyboard. And this keyboard is using the latest version of the Cherry MX switches, which are actually rated for 100 million clicks, but you have even more longevity out of these. So really everything on this keyboard is just built very well and should last you a very long time, which is something you want to see out of a keyboard that costs just north of $100. All right, now let's talk about some of the specifications of this keyboard. As far as dimensions are concerned, this keyboard is 335 millimeters long by 110 millimeters wide, and it sits, depending on the typing angle, at about 40 millimeters in height, and it comes in weighing just under 630 grams. Ducky is using their V2 stabs here, so this is a newer stabilizer than what was found in their 1-2 series boards, and it does come factory pre-lubed. I have a couple of different versions of the 1-3 series boards that have been released so far. I will say that for the boards that I have, the factory lube has been pretty decent, if not a little inconsistent, but I've seen my fair share of keyboards with factory pre-lube applied to them. Some have actually been pretty good, and a lot of them have frankly been terrible. This is definitely towards the better end of the spectrum, and as you'll hear in the sound test in a moment, it sounds pretty good as well. But probably the biggest specification for this keyboard is the fact that we finally have a hot swap PCB. And this is a 5-pin PCB, not a 3. So there's not going to be any clipping involved. It doesn't matter if you have 3 or 5-pin switches. You can throw them in here and you're going to be ready to go. Now, I've tried a variety of different switches specifically on the 1-3 Mini. It took me quite a long time just to do all of the switches for the 1-3 Mini. And frankly, this keyboard is almost identical to the 1-3 Mini anyways. They both have case foam, they both have PCB foam, they both use the V2 stabs, same PCB, same keycaps. The only thing different would be the size of the case, and make no mistake, the size of the case can affect acoustics and sound quality overall, but there's such a small difference in size between this and the 1-3 Mini. Realistically, it's going to sound basically identical. So if you're interested in seeing a whole host of different switches, look in the description. I'm going to put both of the videos to the 1-3 Mini where I did a variety of switches so you can kind of get an idea of what those are going to sound like. I might do a few sound test videos with the 1-3 TKL when it comes in, just because that is a pretty significant size difference between that and the Mini. But if you want an idea of how the switches are going to sound in this, go take a look at those videos, because they're going to sound extremely similar, if not identical, in this board as they would in the 1-3 Mini. But I will put one sound test in this video real quick just to give you an idea of what the stabilizers sound like. One thing that Ducky really tried to focus on with the 1-3 series boards was not only the typing experience, but the acoustics as well. And they did that by using their new V2 stabs, but they also did that by using some acoustic foam. We get a very thin layer of foam in the bottom of the case, and we also get a rather thick piece of foam between the plate and the PCB, and all of that is going to help reduce vibrations and just take up a little bit of space to take away a little bit of the hollowness of the case. And it really has gone a long way to make these sound even better than the 1-2 series boards did. And these are stock unlubed Cherry MX silvers in this keyboard right now. Just for a quick sound test. All right, so as you can hear, the keyboard sounds pretty good. And one of the best things about this keyboard being a hot swap PCB is the fact that you can either buy new switches, lube them up, put them in here, or if you want to make this keyboard sound just a little bit better in general, you can actually easily remove these switches, lube them, maybe even film them if you prefer, and put them back in, and they're going to sound just a touch better. But even as it is stock, it's one of the best sounding pre-built keyboards on the market right now, in my opinion. It sounds really good. Now this keyboard does cost $129, and that can kind of vary just a little bit depending on which switch type you get. You can add another $5 or $10 depending on the switches. So considering all of that, would I recommend buying this keyboard? I definitely would. If you're in the market for a 65% keyboard, this is one of the best on the market right now as far as I'm concerned. You're getting a great case, solid build quality, a keyboard that already comes factory pre-lubed and has 2 different acoustic foams in it, which is more than most of the competition. It comes in a variety of Cherry MX switch types, and it has a hot swap PCB. And you're getting all of that for only about another $20 on average, again, depending on switch types. Another $20 more than the 12SF. And again, this is a better keyboard in almost every way. I still love the 12SF if you're looking to save a little bit of money but still get a Ducky. Or if you really like this keyboard, want something very similar but prefer white or black, at least at the moment, you can go with the Ducky 12SF and you're gonna be just fine. It's a great keyboard. But for an extra $20, what you're getting here is a good bit better than their previous generation keyboard, and it's hard not to recommend it at that price point. This really starts to kind of bump up against what you can expect for like an entry-level custom keyboard, right? Not only in terms of price, but in terms of quality as well. So if you are looking maybe something more towards the custom market, but it intimidates you a little bit, you don't know what keycaps to get, you don't want to enter into any kind of group buy or anything, you want something that works out of the box, but you can also customize a little bit further down the road, whether it's be lubing your switches, removing or adding additional foam. You can do all of that really easily with this keyboard, and it looks and feels great. And that pretty much wraps up the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, found it useful and helpful. If you did, please make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Also, if you want to continue seeing other content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you can be notified of when I post new content. And YouTube, we'll catch you later.